All right, welcome everybody. Welcome again. Properly do the introductions. It's going down. If you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube or any of the other crazy places that we are live streaming this to, we appreciate you. But if you really want to participate, you got to be where the party is at the highest, it's at the best. In this live Zoom. And if that's what you want to do, that's how you get to learn, how you be able to ask questions faster, be able to showcase whatever it is that you're working on and need help with. We got you, right? And you get it in real time. So everybody's here. I'm glad. I'm seeing some people have already been hip to the game. Miss Simmons knows exactly what I'm talking about. Greg knows half of what I'm talking about. Natasha is on point with it. And I'm talking about your name, right? You got to make sure you rep your set, rep where you're from. You want to put your first, last name. You want to put your city, state, wherever it is that you are at, and you want to put your contact information. I choose my phone number. And that is because if somebody has a deal, like if I have something in Atlanta, then I'm like, dang, I got this amazing deal, but I don't know anybody in Atlanta. It would take one Zoom and literally 30 seconds into the Zoom, and you would find Miss Simmons. And now she gets a phone call and she's put herself in a position to work with somebody just the same way Mr. John Grove just did. So super, super excited. Also, I'm seeing it in the chat and I'm loving it. Go ahead and in the chat, put your full spread, okay? What I call a full spread. You want to put your name, put any contact information, how people can typically get in contact with you, email, phone number, the whole nine. Then you want to do two things that are extremely important. You want to make sure that you put your superpower. So what is your superpower? What's that thing that people come to you for? Or what's that thing that people should be coming to you for? And they don't know that you got that you that nice, right? You want to put that in. So for me, for example, I'm a natural born problem solver. It's my thing. I'm very good at raising capital and I'm a connector. All right. Now, never say what you're good at without putting what you are looking for. It defeats the purpose of the ecosystem, of the Zoom. More importantly, it defeats the purpose of allowing somebody else the opportunity to be able to give, right? As you could probably already tell, this is a group of go-givers. This is what we do. We are about helping other individuals getting to their goal. And coincidentally, we all end up hitting our goals. It's funny how that works, right? So anytime you put yourself out there, you are asking for something, you're looking for something, you want to make sure that you are always doing both. Tell what you're good at and also ask. So I want to make sure we put that in the chat. Make sure you're doing that if you're on here. If you're not doing that, it honestly, guys, it defeats the purpose of being here. We want to help. We want to be able to get you guys in the position where you can win, and that's what this is about. So we'll jump into some of the stuff that we normally talk about each and every time before we get started, breaking down the ecosystem, letting everybody understand exactly what we got going on here. And if you've been joining us for a while, you already know how this thing goes. If you start with us on Sunday night, you know we like to get down and dirty with the fire chat, activation Zoom, get you pumped up, ready, and hyped, and really honestly focused on where your dreams and goals can take you. A lot of times we miss out on what that looks like because we're so far away from it. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm never gonna get a multifamily property, right? I'm so far away from that goal. But on Activation Zoom, we have people who are already in that space, already winning, come and give back. We've had last week was Sam Singh, amazing. Well, that last week, this week, we've had Robert Martinez, we've had Vina, we've had, I mean, the list goes on, and there's more to come. And so that happens, and that's for free. That's on Sundays at 8:30 p.m. And then on Mondays, we have the next step in this whole entire thing, which is talking to brokers. And if you don't know who billionaire MF Peter is, that's because you have not been on the brokers. You would understand that name, and I'm not going to explain it to you. But if you come to the Broker Talk Zooms, not only will you understand his name, but you will be learning so much. We've had people that have been on there. We've only been doing this for 2 months. This is episode 8. We've been doing this for 2 months. And we have people who have been watching it and tuning in with us for 2 months, because that's the only time we've been doing it. And guess what? They are now making calls to brokers, and they sound like professionals. We were listening to make them call. We were listening to them make their calls on yesterday, and it was amazing. Live and indirect, they were getting deals, and that's why we set that up. And then, of course, we have tonight. You finish talking to the broker, you know exactly what they want, what they're looking for, and you get to jump in on tonight and have it go through the first stage of underwriting. There are, in my opinion, probably 4 different stages. The deeper and deeper you go, napkin underwriting is something everybody should know how to do, hands down. If you are serious about multifamily, you need to know how to do napkin underwriting. You cannot afford, so every time you get a deal, you have to send it out to see if it's a deal. People will not want to keep working with you. You got to bring value to the table. And so what we do is we teach you guys how to be able to do napkin underwriting. We have a spreadsheet that we made that we give away for free. And in the beginning, we were actually going to charge for the spreadsheet. And we changed our mind and said, listen, let's just give it away. We're going to give it away for free so people can start using it and start helping their businesses. And then on Wednesday nights, like tomorrow night is one of those nights. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, tomorrow night is one of those nights, right? It's a special, it's not February 14th, but there's definitely love that's happening. And that is on our multifamily financial Zoom. It is tomorrow night, Peter?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so we're going to have an amazing couple come on. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to come on the Zoom, it's probably one of the most important Zooms that you can get on, because we're talking about the financings, right? We're talking about, hey, listen, okay, now that you got in the deal, you got hype on Sunday, you've got the deal on Monday from learning how to make calls to the brokers. They sent you the deal. On Tuesday, you came on, you got it underwrote, and then, in a 24-hour, 48-hour window, they got back to you like, hey, here's what the deal is worth, here's what it should look like, and you learned the process of how that goes. Now it's time to sit down and talk to the people who help you get the money. Because without that, you got no deal. You get an A for effort for sure. Here's the A. Here's the 2 thumbs up. Great job. But without the money aspect, without knowing if this is the right type of deal you should get into, you have nothing. You can't even present what you got to someone who's looking to work with you. So with that being said, that is the ecosystem. That's the community. If you need to get plugged in, make sure you are following us on social media. Make sure you are in the Multifamily Freedom Chasers Facebook page. That's where all this stuff gets put in. And I want to make sure that everyone here has access to the underwriting script. So one last time, if you need the underwriting script that we created, that we're giving away for free, it's called Please Use Your Napkin, please let us know. So we're going to put it in the chat, and we are going to get started. Now, we had a cool time. I think this was on Tuesday's call. And we've had somebody asked a question about triple net leases. And we took a vote and we said, hey, would that be something you guys would be interested in? And it was crazy. Everybody was like, absolutely, right? Like, yeah, let's set that
So
up.
I think specifically as well as more mixed use. So this is encompassing factoring in commercial with the long-term leases, multi-family units above, which are just regular apartments. We have a sample that Eddie and I had actually spoken to the brokers, negotiated, ended up not working because there's just different interests, but I'll get more into details on that. But I do have an old deal that we've looked at. So it might not be necessarily the same napkin underwriting form, just because there's going to be more components, but I'll show you guys how to take it from what I'm using to put into Napkin. So you guys will be able to see that too.
Yep. So that's what we're going to dive into. Paper napkin software available. We don't have software, and the reason why is because we weren't thinking about it, right? So we weren't trying to create a software. We just wanted to create something that you guys can use in real time and be able to get. So hopefully you got it. If you did not, I'm actually gonna put the link in the chat for you guys, so you guys can be able to use it. All right, so while I'm doing that, let me bring on to the spotlight Mr. Ed, Lean Green Money Machine. How are you, bro?
I'm wearing red though, but I'm good. I'm good. It's another Tuesday. Been a busy few days, so it's good. I'm curious, is anyone excited about the Super Bowl this weekend? I feel like it came out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, we all been working, right? So that's what happens, right? It's like you look up and you'd be like, wait a second, it's my birthday already? I swear we just celebrated that. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I'm sure there's some fans here. I mean, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm happy for them. I will probably watch it 9 times out of 10. I will probably just catch the highlights, to be honest with you guys, because more than likely I'm gonna end up doing some work, right? But I tell you this much, my attitude about it is this. I will much rather do the work that needs to be done now, so by the next Super Bowl, I can be watching it on the 50-yard line, right? With all of my friends, multifamily freedom chasers, like how dope would that be, right? Like all next year, we all get tickets, we buy tickets to celebrate all this hard work we've been doing on the 50-yard line. And we'll have like a big ass flag that says multifamily freedom chasers, and Ed's probably gonna get arrested because you're not supposed to do ads like that during the Super Bowl. But he's a wild man, so we'll let him take the hit for the group. But that would be amazing, right? And so that's where my focus is. So I'm not saying don't have fun, don't watch it or nothing like that. Definitely take the time, enjoy yourself. But you guys have to be fully active and participating in the Super Bowl of your life, right? We want to make sure that we are doing that. I want you guys to be fanatic about your life, the way you see the fans in Buffalo in the winter during a game take their tops off and like paint their whole entire face, and they're cheering their fan on as if catching a cold is the least of their works, right? I want you guys to be crazy about what you're trying to accomplish here and what you will accomplish here in the multifamily space the same exact way. So let's jump into it. Ed, before we get into the retail / triple net, do we have, first I'm gonna ask anybody that's on here, do you guys have a particular deal you would like for us to underwrite for you? That's the first thing. I want to make sure we don't miss anybody. So if you have a deal and you want us to underwrite it for you, let us know. You can either put your hand up or put it in the chat and we will get you situated. And if not, then James, what's up, my guy? And if not, we're going to pull one up. I want us to be able to pull one up, Ed, and use the napkin in the full form. And then what we can do is our second one, we could do it with the triple net lease work. All right, and if we have one, I mean, we can get one of the ones from before, like the older ones, or just go to LoopNet, see if they got a deal desk that's open that we can grab and just underwrite something.
So I'll start by just going through the OM, and then from there we'll be able to check out, because I have a summary of the OM essentially with all the numbers we need, in the initial calculator that we ran when we were analyzing this ourselves. So then I'll just take everything from my summary, plug it into the napkin, and kind of reverse engineer it. But at least that way we'll be able to go to the OM and see what components to look out for and what factors into what.
Yep, yeah, we could do that. But do we have like a regular deal, regular multifamily deal? We could just do a quick underwrite using the napkin, just because I want to be able to have a clear understanding of how to use it for some of the new people that's on here.
Okay, I'll use the rent roll for this one and not factor in the commercial yet because I haven't have the rent roll in front of me.
Let's do it. Daryl said I got one, but I have not done due diligence yet. Okay, Daryl, that's interesting. I want to ask you a question about that. I'm gonna bring you up here if you're okay with it. All right, Daryl, could you unmute?
Yeah, so what I meant by due diligence is the fact that I got the OM, the T12, the rent rolls. I sent it to Ed, I think earlier today, but I just got back from the W-2, so I haven't really even looked at it myself.
Okay.
To kind of see
did you
what's
do the
all there.
napkin yet?
No, I haven't done the napkin yet. So
Okay.
if someone else has obviously an example, please feel free.
So this is really good, right? Like you guys want to make sure that you're doing the napkin first. Like Ed is overzealous, right? Ed's like, listen, I'm a machine. Send me whatever you got. I'm knocking it out, right? Like I don't even need to use a napkin, and that's great. But I want you guys to be able to analyze the deal up until the level that you can't no more, which is what the napkin is for, right? So when you guys get a deal, use the napkin, underwrite it, and then send it over using the form, right? And we'll go over that in just a bit. So Ed, are you ready to go? You got the numbers pulled out? And for everybody asking in the chat, we'll put together the napkin.
I sent the link. I hope it's the right one.
It is not.
Oh.
It is not. I'll put the new one in.
But we can at least, is it the same format or is it just the links different?
It's the same format, it's just the link, but I don't want people.
That one, guys. But just I'm gonna stay on it for now.
Yeah. But you can still share your screen. I got you open. You can share your screen and use it, and I'll put the link in there for everybody.
All right. So we're gonna go through just the rent roll on this until we elaborate onto the adding the commercial component of it, so that way we can knock out both halves, because you do have to kind of divide it up and make sure you're understanding where the multifamily aspect and component of this is with the upside and where that differentiates from the commercial. So just to give some context, here's the OM. Let me make this bigger. So this one's in Savannah, Georgia. It's mixed use. It's 33 units at the moment. It has a CVS. And then I believe it has 2 more office spaces. And they're just kind of going through it like usual. The OM is obviously going to provide what is viable in the area. This is a very popular area. It's kind of like the downtownish area of Savannah. So you are going to get a higher population, a very high density in terms of like income and whatnot. And you could see some cool pictures. And we'll go into more detail on what the upside of this is, because you might be thinking like, okay, if they've already remodeled all the existing units, which was these 33, which is right here, you have 2 commercial spaces here, the CVS, basement. What does this mean? So this is what they're banking on with the upside, and we'll get into that later as well. So
hey, really quick for everybody, I just put the updated version and you'll see it. It says, make a copy, please use your napkin 2.0. So I just added that in the chat for everybody.
All right. So we have all 33 units on the rent roll here. You have monthly rent, which is the most important, of course. That's where we're looking at to plug into the napkin. And as you can see, and I mention this all the time, but just to repeat it, you want to make sure you know when these leases are ending. For example, this one's already done, but most of them are new. So obviously that shows that either these have been rehabbed recently or these have been built recently. And you'll notice as well that the leases are around the same time frame. Of course, anytime you're doing any rehab, especially our buy box obviously fits landlord-friendly states for a reason. Because once these leases end, if there is any work or improvement or you're changing direction and you need to do something to the building, you want to have the option where if it's going to bring you more income and increase your NOI, you want to make sure you have the ability to do that. That's why not a lot of people love investing in places like California or New York, for example. But with these, since I know the context of the building, I know that these have all been newly rehabbed. They look great. These are new leases, so they should be close to market rent. So again, you're probably thinking, all right, then what's the upside? So based on the photo we showed, I'll go into that in regards to the long-term play with that and why this deal wasn't the best. But we will take, they should have the total. Okay, so this is, there you go, total multifamily. Cool.
So again, just to kind of reiterate for everybody that's on here and that's coming in and what we're doing, we are looking at a mixed-use property. In a mixed-use property, you will hear the term triple net lease. And so the way to underwrite this is still going to be the same, but you have to make sure that you know the difference between, the rent itself and what's making money versus what the leases of the retail space is bringing in. So Ed is going to, or has already started showing you guys like how to look at that to be able to underwrite it correctly. Because if you're underwriting it all as regular rent, then you're going to highly overpay for the deal.
So we have the monthly rent, and I believe they had a rent roll with it, which was right here. Perfect. So we're going to take that 63 number, 63, 254, and divide it by 33. Okay. So their current average rents is 1916. And then the pro forma, it's going to be pretty similar. Honestly, you're not going to be far off because like I mentioned, these are all newly rehabbed, newly input tenants. They're going to fall around the same mark. So we'll probably bump it up a little bit. But that's not what the play is on here. The play here isn't I'm going to come and increase rents. I have $1 million upside deal. That's not this type of building.
What kind of class? What kind of class is this building?
This building specifically, mixed use, you want to be careful when it comes to the class because you want to make sure that the tenant for the commercial justifies the class grade you're giving it. If it's a standing like a CVS, Starbucks, like they're gonna bring that traffic and crowd, then you're gonna kind of weigh like, okay, it's a strong commercial tenant. So I would put this, given the area and with the rents and whatnot, yeah, I'd put this as an A. It's brand new rehab. Okay, so that's a good question. The time frame of the pro forma, I hate this answer on anything, but with multifamily, it's a common one, is it depends. For something like this, actually, you guys will be surprised how long the pro forma is. But when it comes to like a traditional multifamily, let's say you have 33 units and you need to do a rehab on 50% of them, well, how soon can I get those 50% vacant and then get the work done? So that could take anywhere from 1 to 3 years. Because the pro forma, what the pro forma means, and let me explain the difference because you'll sometimes see this. I was having this conversation with someone. You have current rent, market rent, pro forma rent. And there is a difference. And even though I've told you guys it's interchangeable, I'll elaborate on that. Current rent is what it is. That's what you're getting today, right? Your market rent is what you get for that same unit today. You don't change anything, maybe touch up paint, but you're not putting in new floors, new kitchen, new bathroom, cabinets, XYZ. You're not doing any of that. Now your pro forma, where if you're when you're underwriting and where the deals we're going to be looking at, and not just our team, is everyone, is you're going to be putting the money into the building to rehab it. So if I'm turning a class, let's say C+ building into a B-, B, then you do want to look at the pro forma rent. And what that means is once I do the
để sẵn đâu không cho gì nó về.
I got you.
Okay, cool. So what that means is I want to make sure I know the rents of newly done, fully rehab, CapEx is spent into the building, because that's where our return is coming from. I'm not going to just come in, kick out tenants and increase rents. That the value adds very minimal there. So on a building like this, which is already rehabbed and fixed up, I'm going to go back to that photo right here. And this is just because we found this out from the broker. So what the play and the long-term play on this is, what you have to consider when you're doing Napkin or further underwriting, is future development air rights. What that means is the intention of the sellers, in this case, was to build more units above these units. So these are multifamily, you have CVS here. Here's a problem. CVS, the infrastructure needs to be strengthened in order to support those units. So if you're not able to get into CVS and do whatever work needs to be done, I'm not an engineer, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done to support another floor of tenants or units, you can't build here. I don't care how much money you have, I don't care how prepared you are, you're stuck. Issue with this particular one was CVS wasn't cooperating. So this is why we ended up passing on the deal. Give you a backstory. And that is why they're trying to sell it, because this is something that could have come to fruition in about 7 to 10 years, I believe. So now that we have this down, our CapEx rehab budget is fairly minimal in this example. So let's just put it at 15. Number of units is 33. Current expenses is going to be on the lower end, but let's put 40. Current occupancy was at 100. And then asking price, this is where I need to go to my summary. I believe it was 18 on this. That was a creative offer. Yeah, so this one was 18. So very simply put, just by looking at the rent roll, you're able to answer a lot of this. You know the current rent. Most of the time, the rent roll is going to have the pro forma and the market rents. In this case, it's fairly close to what they have existing. Number of units, expenses will be based on this. And then the market cap rate, which is something that we've touched on a few times. Remember this as well. If the class for the building is stronger, A class, high B class, your cap rate is going to be lower. It's just the nicer stuff costs more. That's how it is. So let's leave it at 5.5. There is an assumable loan on this one, but you would put that information here. Let me see if I have that in my summary. Okay. So let's say we have a loan amount. Let's say it's an assumable loan, and you plug it in here. So we'll just use this one as an example. 8958 is the original loan. Let's say it was interest only, so it'll be the same. Interest rate, let's put 7, but it's probably not going to be the case. 530 prepayment, no. Yes. Okay. So to kind of go over the assumable or the current mortgage and whether it's assumable or not, you take the loan amount, and where the original loan and the existing loan, you might think if a payment's being put towards principal, then those numbers are going to be different. If it's an interest only loan, then the original loan amount should equal the existing loan amount because you haven't paid any of that debt off. The interest rate, most assumable loans now are going to have favorable interest rate. And what that means is it's probably going to be lower than today. I've seen anywhere from 3.25 to 5.5 to 6. So let's say it's 3.5. The term is important if you are doing an assumable loan because that is something that is going to be paid off, or that is basically your maturity date. You cannot really negotiate this. There are some lenders that will give you an extension, but you want to be very careful because if they're giving you an extension at market rate, well, that's not really an extension. They're just saving you a little bit on a fee. So you want to really know the ins and outs and details of an assumable loan because an assumable loan can, if it comes up too quick, can take out the whole deal. What was amazing and great on paper can catch flames and burn out real quick. So be careful about that. And an easy way to understand what the loan details are is there will be a loan agreement. Every time you get a loan on a purchase or a building, you're going to have the loan agreement, which will break down the terms. It's a very long document. It's not the most fun to look at. Pro tip, go to page 119. Around 119, you have all the information with the mortgage payment, the term, the loan amounts, and when the interest period is over, when it becomes principal and interest. All that information is there. Until you get into escrow, I wouldn't worry about the rest of the pages. Underwriting, page 119 is the way to go. And that's about it. It'll tell you amortization, prepayment, interest only, and then, of course, the mortgage payment. So any questions regarding loan assumption, loan agreement, and anything regarding where to get these numbers from?
Looking good so far. We've been knocking out the questions in the chat too when they pop up, so we're good to go.
Cool. So now you might be thinking, okay, cool, but if it's a mixed use, how do I Napkin underwrite this? I would say in anything specific where you have mixed use involved, it gets a little tricky to do the Napkin for, but let's go through and I'll show you how we can try to work on that together. Personally, I would say call me, but let's pretend I'm not available. One more thing I would definitely want to look at on any mixed use, anything commercial related, when you have residential and all that involved, definitely look at their assumptions. You'll see they have income assumption here. And then here's a breakdown of it. And then expense notes. These are big. Just going to leave it here for a sec so you guys can check it out. Now, one thing I want you guys to look at too here when you have your income and expenses, look at this line. We're just going to skip here real quick. Your total expenses for anyone that's underwritten a few deals, or you've heard me talk on this on these calls, and if anyone wants to do quick math in their head, compared to the effective gross income, even to the gross scheduled rent, this expense number very low. Like, I would call BS on this every day of the week if it was strictly residential. Normally, what do they say? Rule of thumb, 40, 45, 50%. This one is, because I'm not that great at math.
Now, Ed, does it matter if it's a class A? Wouldn't that mean it's less expenses?
Less expensive? Oh, 100%. So yeah, that's a great point. Anytime you are dealing with the expense ratio, you have to factor in the class. A newly rehabbed, more new and updated building is obviously going to have less repairs and maintenance, which can be a big component of your expenses. It's also probably going to have less reserves because you've just spent money rehabbing the building and improving it, so your reserves are likely to be less. This came out to 15%. If you ever send me a residential underwriting and said, when it's all said and done, your expenses are 15%, pro forma, I'm gonna have to disappoint you because that might barely cover your taxes, insurance, and your management and your fixed expenses, not counting all the other fun stuff that gets added on top. So this is very low. Here's another interesting part about this to look at, and this is something that when you're looking at income and expenses, it's very easy to overlook, is just because you have the utility reimbursement here, you still need to charge it as an expense. So I've seen OMs where that's not the case, and here's why it's wrong. If you're being reimbursed for something, that means you have to have one point spent and cover that expense. If this line is not here, you've essentially doubled this. Okay, so I want to make sure that's clear to everyone. Anytime you're getting utilities reimbursement, make sure the utilities expense is still there. And if the utility reimbursement isn't there, and this line isn't here, assume they missed it. Anytime you have a RUBS program and you have utilities being reimbursed, both lines have to be there, because it's very rare, and this is an example, that 100% of your utilities are reimbursed. When you're implementing any type of utility reimbursement, you have city restrictions is the first part, and secondly, to assume 100% is a stretch. Remember, we want to underwrite conservatively. 75, 80%, great. We can work with that, right? Anything more, cherry on top. Oops. Oh, there we go. Let me find that page again. There we go. So here's another thing to look at when you're looking at mixed use, especially when you're dealing with big commercial tenants like a Starbucks, CVS, all those big stores like a Walmart, like I mentioned. Retail income, other income. You guys might be thinking, there's something wrong here. How does your other income exceed your retail income when you have something as big of as a CVS? And that's where you want to dig into the rent roll and dig into the leases to fully understand why that is. Let me see if this is a T12. Perfect. Cool. So miscellaneous income, nothing. Okay, so that's not it. That's definitely a big factor of it. This is the great part about commercial is.
Ed, sorry, can you zoom in just a little bit more?
Yeah. So is that good?
Yep, thank you.
Here's a great part about commercial. And I'm gonna give some backstory to save some time, and this is based off conversations we've had with the broker. CVS, and mostly CVS because it's the biggest tenant, covers a large portion of their taxes. So that's considered income. This is their retail rent. This is only the CVS. So this 15,000 is just from the CVS. They reimburse the utilities, and they do a very good job of doing that as well. Insurance claim, rent loss, and then miscellaneous income. Now, this, sorry, percentage rent, this. Okay, so this is something that I actually didn't even know about until we found this deal. So I learned something new here too. CVS has something in their contract, and why they get such a good rate and a deal with the landlord is, over, in this scenario, it was $6 million in sales. Every dollar the landlord, which if we had purchased this property would have been us, gets a certain percentage of every dollar. That number totaled 103,000 for this year in 2022. It's based on their fiscal year timing and the timeline of all that. I wouldn't get too carried away on. All you have to know is every year they are making an additional 100,000 to their pockets with the agreement they have with CVS. And like I said, that's almost as much as their rent right there. That's really important when it comes to any commercial lease and any commercial tenants, that you know what their lease agreement is, how long it's for, what the terms are in regards to increasing rents, and any options. So if you sign a 15-year lease, after 10 years, you have option for the next 5. That's something you need to know, because that's all future projections that you have to prepare for when you're underwriting, not for yourself. You can't really control it if they opt in, but you need to prep your investors. You need to prep yourself in regards to refinancing the property and the value of the building. So let's go back here real quick. I know they have the leases right here. Actually, we might not have the leases. So we might not have the leases, but that's, I don't think we got that far, but that's fine. So when you're underwriting, you want to make sure you're aware of that. Obviously, are the brokers providing the pro formas? They, in the OM, they usually will, or in the rent roll, they'll at least put the market rents. They should. Especially, so here's what I would do. So when it comes to the pro formas, if a broker is representing you, then you 100% should get that. Like if there's a buyer's agent, they're like, hey, I got this off market through my relationship with another agent, which it happens often. You know, every agent wants to be involved in the deal, and they're going to do everything they can to work for you. They 1,000,000% should be able to give you that. Like if that's a market they're familiar with and you're not, I don't see a reason why not. They're going to be and should be more accurate than a rent-a-meter. It's convenient, but that doesn't mean it's the end all be all. A broker is always going to be more accurate. If you are going direct to the listing agent and there is no broker that is representing you as a buyer, then you can ask for it. If they don't cooperate with you, your next best friend is a property management company, because they want to earn your business too. Who knows? What if you don't like the property management company that's in place? What if the current seller is like, or the broker of the seller is saying, current management company sucks, and you're like, okay, great, now I have to go look for one. Start building that relationship early. And this goes back to the whole thing we mentioned a lot with know your market and go deep. understand the rents, understand which streets can be the difference between a $2,000 rent and a $1,000 rent, and understand how the city works. You know, the same way you do the city that you live in, most likely. Those are big components to helping with underwriting. The more familiar you are, the easier it becomes, and then you can do it faster, and you can verify if someone's just throwing out BS numbers because it'll look good, or if you're like, okay, there's some truth to that. I was talking with, we're talking with a few people today, actually, and I mentioned this a few times, where if someone tells you what 1-bedroom rent they got in the city you live in, you'll know whether they're accurate, way under, like the place is missing floors, or if it's way too high and the place has a golden door. You just know that. Like if someone tells me they got a $500 a month rent for 1-bedroom in the city I live in, I'd be concerned. Now, if they said like 5,000, I'd be like, why? You know, so you want to understand the market you're investing in the same way you understand the city you live in. Next question is, does every commercial tenant pay the same? No. That's just particular to that deal that CVS negotiated. It can be anything. It really does depend on what they have agreed on. I do wish I had the leases, but one thing to think about with commercial is they have a fixed rate for a long period of time, and then at some point it increases, but not by the amount that you choose. It's pre-negotiated. So what that means is, let's say in the commercial space they go by price per square foot. Let's say hypothetically the price per square foot is $250. In the contract, they'll say after 7 years, that will now bump up to, let's say, $275. You do not get to control it going up and down any more than that. That's locked in. Like those tier increases are locked in until the lease expires, or they opt out based on when they have an option. So those are all things that are really important with the commercial space, is knowing when those increases are, what those increases are to, and how it's going to affect your bottom line and your numbers. Another thing, like this bonus that we're talking about, this eventually changes as well, because with inflation and increase in prices, what they made today in 10 years, they could be way past that 6 million. Like what if their threshold is 6 million now, but they're making 7 million in 5 years? They don't want to pay that same percentage on the difference. So that minimum will go from 6 to 6.3, or the percentage changes. It could go from 5% to 3. Okay. So is there any questions in regards to the different scenarios, or maybe other scenarios you can think of where it'll pertain to a commercial lease with mixed use? Does anyone else have anything else to add? Okay, cool.
I think it's good.
Cool. So one more thing to keep in mind, we focus a lot on the CVS, but you do have these two other tenants as well. You have the square footage, obviously CVS is huge. You want to make sure that you're also aware of these players, because they do take up real estate, and it's not a small amount. That's 4,300 square feet. Here's something that we found out on a call with the broker, because we asked the right questions. They're not paying. They're on TI mode right now. They're doing tenant improvements. They haven't paid $1 yet. So you want to know that if you're taking over a building where, okay, what's the status of it? When do they planning to move in? When are they planning to start opening their doors for business? What business are they doing? That's very important. These are things that you have to consider when dealing with commercial space. Ironically enough, this management company manages this. They manage the whole building. It's just kind of the cherry on top. But they're also a well-known management company. So that's just kind of like a brief, I want to call it brief, but a run through of what to look for in the mixed use space. Let me pull up the Napkin underwriting.
Question for you while you're doing that. What if either the residential or the commercial is way better as far as occupancy? Do you just make it your goal to do the improvements on the side that's weaker? And how does it change the whole deal when you say no? Okay, I think I understand what you're saying, Natasha, but I'd rather love for you to come on and speak to us.
So you're saying if you had to choose between one or the other and to improve?
Hold on. Let me get her to unmute.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're all good.
So let's say the residential was really weak and they had a lot of occupancy or a lot of vacancy, and the commercial was really doing really well. Do you say no if you had too many problems on the residential side, or what would that make it a no-go as far as the deal goes?
So if a property if either side needs work and there's a value at play there, that's opportunity. So like, for example, in this example, there is not much opportunity besides doing that addition. But like we mentioned, the addition could take 7 to 10 years. So you don't really have much upside today in this situation. But let's say hypothetically, those 33 units was pre-rehab, like they haven't done anything to it yet. You're going to come in and do the work. You definitely want to factor that in, and that's value upside for you. So you would run the numbers the same way. Is there a preference between the two? If both are bad, that's just more opportunity. But I would personally probably do if it depends the vacancy, I guess. So if you have a tenant in the commercial space, then you kind of have to do the retail space. You can't do, the residential space. Can't do really much anything about that. It's because the commercial tenant's gonna be there. You can't just tell CVS, hey, come back in a few months, we're gonna fix the place up real quick. So you're gonna leave them in there until their lease expires. Residential, you have a lot more flexibility with apartments. Like anyone can come in, a unit's out, you can come in and fix one unit. Yeah, it's messy and loud, sure, but you can do it. But if you're telling me, let's say it's a brand new vacant building and I'm starting from scratch, I'm doing the commercials first. Because at least that's my opinion. Someone might have a different opinion. I'm kind of like answering this on the spot, where I would say the commercial first, because it's annoying for residents where you have tenants in place that they have to walk past a commercial space being done. It's just not pretty, it's not fun, and it's messy. If the commercial space doesn't like that, you have your residents, like you're fixing up your units above, sorry, it's loud. Pretend the work is being done on the street. You can't really do anything about it. You'd rather have one, like you'd rather keep the tenants happy and make sure that they're good, because the commercial tenant's going to be there regardless. They're not going anywhere. And they take up a majority of your rent. So that's something to consider too. I'd be curious if someone has a reason to switch that. That's just off the top of my head. But that is an interesting conversation for sure. I think it's very deal specific too. And the area, and if there's a tenant waiting. But yeah, I hope that helped.
So we gotta did that help, Natasha? Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. We had another question that came in, but it was more so of a comment. Of course, not a problem, guys. A lot of times people are trying to sell a deal based on the value upside. Like say buildable land, but the value add would cost big money to develop. If it was a deal, they said, why wouldn't they develop it themselves? But that's a really good thought process. Like I agree with you there. I do want to get Ed's take on it, because I know he sees a lot of craziness that most of the time you have. Oh, Daniel, you had your hand up. There you go, Daniel. You can unmute. Now, Daniel, was that the question that you just had, or you have something else?
Yeah, no, I would just, before Ed talks about it, I'd like to just share like a couple real quick examples of what I mean.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great, man. Now that we know you're here and you got your hand raised, I mean, what else can we ask for?
Yeah, so thank you. So basically I looked at a couple deals recently. Kevin and I, who's in the audience, actually looked at them, and we found that they were really nice properties, Class A properties, right? They were both of the ones we looked at were 100+ unit deals, so pretty big deals. And they had a piece of undeveloped land on the property, and that was like one of their main pitches, to sell the land. And it just, when we did the Napkin underwriting, it would have cost, to get the value add that they were asking, would have cost like millions and millions, over $10 million to add 35 units or whatever it was, 56 units, whatever it was. And they were saying like, oh yeah, it's already has the permits approved. The permits expire in 6 months. Buy it now. It's like, so I was just throwing that out there for people to watch out for that, like, because the seller's always going to try to lipstick a pig, pardon my French.
Big time. I mean, we've seen it also in the single family space. For those of you who are used to doing single family deals, what's crazy is, dang, I forgot the name of the company, but there was this one particular company that was getting ready to move somewhere here in Georgia, right? And no, I'm not gonna mess up the name, but they were getting ready to move somewhere here in Georgia. They had everything down, and then last week they actually pulled the plug. Now, here's why that's crazy. There were a property that was built, new builds, in the middle of nowhere because of the projected value that that company was going to bring to the area. That company is no longer going to build out in that area. What do you think happens to their value? It's dead. It's a done deal. They could try to give that house away and they couldn't find anybody to take it. So in real estate, if that ever happens to you, it's even more detrimental, right? We're not talking a couple $100,000 that you lost in the equity overnight. We're talking millions upon millions. And brokers are really, really good at the upsell, right? When you get to the Apple store and you just be like, I'm just gonna come in, I'm gonna grab, all I need is the iPad. And they're like, we're having a discount on the case. And then by the time you walk out, you brought yourself an iPad, you got an iPad for your girl, you both got pencils, matching cases. It's a wild thing, right? So it's the same exact thing. Brokers will definitely pitch that to you because that's their top selling. Like that's what they have to rely on. And you got to be sharp enough to let them know, like, hey, I don't buy on potential. I'm buying on what this property can make me money right now. All right. So very good point you add on there. Ed, looks like you're done with the numbers on the sheet.
Yeah, I do want to add to that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Multifamily, that's why it's actually it's easier to hide the current value because the age-old question of what cap rate is it selling at, it's whatever number they say. It's trading at this. If you don't like it, make an offer. So they can propose whatever they want and justify it by just throwing a cap rate on there. It doesn't have to make sense. It's justified, right? So, and you'll see that more so with bridge loans coming up, shifting market like Eddy's mentioning, and big factors like that. That's why you want to make sure you're in a market that isn't dependent on one future thing or one thing currently. Like we'll throw away a deal right away if there's an immediate red flag, low population, or dependent on one factor.
We had two. We had two deals that were great deals that we decided to turn down because everything in that particular market was depending on it was Kodak, the company Kodak, which Kodak has been around for years upon years. But you got to remember where we're at in this particular market, right? We're seeing Facebook, we're seeing, you know, Microsoft, Twitter, a lot of these companies that are considered big name companies making money hand over fist lay off half of their workforce. Could you imagine if Kodak had to do something like that and they laid off half of their employees, and you are the owner, the brand new owner of the multifamily unit that houses the large percent of that?
Eddie, was that in New York? Because I know they had a facility they were building in New York, or they have a factory in New York. Kodak did.
No, this was in it was in New York. It was a very smaller market.
Tennessee, I think.
Yeah. But to Ed's point earlier, you guys, and I get it, right? Everybody's just trying to get in here and like, look, if I could wholesale a deal or whatever, I get it. I totally do. But I really, really urge you all, to Ed's point earlier, is to pick 1, 2, or 3 markets max. I think 3 is a stretch. Like if you're gonna pick more than 3 markets, then you should at least have a team, like a squad of individuals. You guys are working together, etc. But I honestly feel that you should have 1 or 2 markets. One, honestly, 1 is enough. And in that 1 market, you got to know everything. Like when it comes to single family, if you're from sub 2, you know. If it comes to single family or creative deals and you're anywhere near Georgia, Eddy's the guy. There's a bunch of people that are here that's in sub 2, but I've mastered doing creative financing. I know all the attorneys. I know all the property management companies. Like if you had a question about how something is done in Atlanta, I know it. That's how you got to get in your multifamily space, because if you're just looking at the deal itself and you're not focused on all the other things that can impact your deal, right? That's going to cost you big. So I double down with Ed on this. I urge you all to pick a market and master it, and then maybe add on another one if you're feeling spicy. But you guys got to specialize in a market, right? If you look at multifamily freedom chasers, right? You look at Trevor and those guys, like they are in 2 markets or 3 markets max. That's it. And their markets aren't big markets. They're not like, like New York or something. Like they're in like mid-size, maybe larger market, but that's it. You can send them a home run in Texas. And that's not, Atlanta. I know Atlanta's not their market. You can send them a home run in Atlanta and they will not buy it.
But here's one thing to keep in mind. Just because you're not interested in the market doesn't mean you shouldn't have friends that are. That's the point of stuff like this in the Freedom Chasers. They focus on their specific market. We have our market. But we know if we find something in their market, who do you think we're going to call first?
Which is why you have to be out in this chat saying where you at and what you're looking for. Because if nobody don't know, Ed wants, you know what I mean? Like I can have a deal and I could be talking to Ed all day long, and then I'm gonna go hand it to somebody else that I don't even know because I didn't know Ed was in that market.
And guys, that's what collaboration is about. At the end of the day, because you made a presence, you were in this group, you gain credibility being here and you're involved. Now you're gonna work with each other and you guys are both, everyone's gonna make money. That's the idea of this. Like you're gonna be able to contribute to the deal where otherwise both of you would have got nothing, right? Piece of the watermelon instead of the whole grape. That's the mentality. Daniel, your question is you have follow up with this as well again?
Yeah, real quick. It's just to big backpack off of what the 2 Eds are saying. I have an uncle who owns 6 mobile home parks, so about 1,500 units, and he's teaching me the ropes a little bit, showing me some things, and it's like, okay, sound like you want to be a bird dog, so you could bring us some deals or whatever. And so I was learning doing that. And we're in New York. I bring him a North Carolina deal, a Brownsville, Texas deal. And he was like, listen, Danny, you know, you grew up in the Hudson Valley in New York. You know that area. That's where I am. That's where we are. Our mobile home parks are an hour or two out of the Hudson Valley, but we really spent a year plus learning that area before we bought our first deal. And he was like, you gotta, his advice to me was, since you know the area you live in, draw a radius map around it about how familiar you are within, let's say, a 20, 30 mile radius, something small, and you're very familiar with that radius. He said, start there, because it's already, right there for you, it. And that, but the cool thing is about this group, like you said, that there's people, it's just important to, and the main reason I brought up what I did earlier is because of with that lady, Natalie, her question, and I just thought of that as be careful, because the broker's deal, the seller's deal, the motive is to make the deal look as enticing as possible. If the residentials aren't as nice as the commercial or vice versa, it might be a trap, that's all. Thanks, guys.
For
No,
sure.
no problem. Thanks for bringing that up.
Real quick, there's a
Um,
question here. Sorry, real quick, Eddie.
Yeah, go ahead. I was about to say the same thing.
So Alicia had a question that it's been a while since it was asked, but it's regarding the mixed use. Question is, do mixed use residential commercial properties tend to be in a certain class? So you would like to believe that most commercial spaces are going to be in the better class neighborhood, but that's not the case. Because at the end of the day, no matter what neighborhood you're in, there's a good chance there's going to be a mixed use building of some sort. I don't want to, don't quote me on this because I don't know specific numbers, but if I had to guess, I'm sure that maybe that like some specific markets will have more of them, like more downtowns will have them, for example, where like that Savannah one, where you do have a lot of people living in a small area, and it's very dense. You're more likely to just, all right, let's maximize as much space as we can and put houses or units above commercial buildings or commercial units, for example. So I would say no. Simple answer. Like there's no one rule of thumb when it comes to class. Just be more careful with how you distinguish what type of class it is by, oh, it's a CVS, it's an A for sure. Definitely not the case either, because the area is a big impact on that. So it's definitely dependent on location as well. So that's my quick answer on that.
Yeah, great question. We have another question by Yana. Learning the market, essentially her question from before is, what tools do you use for market research? And I asked her to clarify what she meant by that. So she said, learning the market from an investment point of view, which is great, not just relying on what you personally know. So this is where you have to get down to the nitty gritty. Guys and girls, stop trying to become a successful multifamily operator or in the multifamily space without talking to people. You have to reach out and talk to the experts that are in this space. Who are the experts that would know about a market or about that particular property and the area? Property management company. They would know about that. You can call the broker. They would know about that. You can call the apartment unit across the street. Ask them questions, right? Be like, hey, how's business? How's things? Whatever like that. You could call the apartment down the street and pretend as if you're moving in. You're from out of state and I'm moving in. Can you give me some details about the area? My guy Aldo put in lenders. Now, again, if you're in a particular area, I'm in Atlanta, I'm talking to lenders that deal a lot of business in Atlanta. they would know more than the guy who's a lender but lives in Chicago or California and is primarily doing it nationwide. He knows about it, but he don't know it. You understand? Like, those are the people that you want to get connected with. How do you find these individuals? Google.com. Reach out, connect, pick up the phone, introduce yourself. These are people that you want to build relationships with as well, right? That's how you get down to it. Chris put a good one. Other multifamily investors in your area. I think that is true, but you got to make sure you're talking to the right ones. Because, for example, Aldo, what markets are you in, bro?
Yeah, we actually narrowed it down even more. So we're trying to double down into Birmingham. We live in Chattanooga,
Yeah.
but we're trying to stay in that small radius in like Birmingham.
Perfect.
Keeping them
Perfect. I love that. So if he's focused down in Birmingham, if I call him about multifamily in Florida and I'm like, hey, what's your thoughts on it? He probably has the same amount of knowledge that I do, right? So I'm not saying he's not a good source, but unless he's like, yeah, Florida's my market. Now, let me ask, is there anyone here that Florida is your market?
Yes.
Somebody with a robot voice just said something. Okay, there
I'm
you
in
go.
Florida.
Who's that? Oh, okay, you're in
Yes.
Florida, and you asked the question. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you're in Florida. So I would reach out to you, right? I'd be like, hey, what do you know about it? And even if you was like, I have no idea, I've not even heard of that apartment, but it's down the street. I can just drive up there. Let me go put. You see why it's important? But now here's the thing. Now you guys came late, so I'm gonna give you your pass. But Aldo, and did I pronounce your name correctly the first time?
Ayana.
I did.
Ayana.
So Aldo, Ayana, if I'm just looking at your name right now, I have no idea what market you're in, and I don't know how to get in contact with you. Right? Like, you should change your name and put your market and put your phone number. So tomorrow morning, if I have a deal, I know to reach out to who because of the market that they're in, and I know how to reach out to you. Right? Another thing, I'm gonna give you guys a little secret. It's gonna go off tangent, but I really want you guys to win. So I'm gonna give you guys some gems here. When you go into a Zoom, all right? When you go into a Zoom and it's about multifamily, if you notice, you'll see a bunch of people in Zooms. They'll post like this. You'll see them post either a link, it'll be like one link, and they'd be like, let's connect. Or they'll post like this. If you're looking at the chat, you'll see what I'm talking about. You see a bunch of stuff like this, right? And it's the same thing I'll be telling you guys to post. Put all your contact information, name, email, etc. Put what's your superpower, put what you're looking for, and your superpower so that people know what you can help with, okay? If you really want to build your network up, I'm going to give you a secret. And I do this. I know Ed does this. Peter does this. When you go into these Zooms, pay attention to the people that's posting this stuff. Take this information and put it into a spreadsheet. I'm giving you guys the cheap and easy way because I don't want nobody being like, oh, I can't afford a CRM. Excel spreadsheet is free, last time I checked. Google Sheets is free, last time I checked. So unless you can't afford free, then that's another conversation we should probably talk after, all right? Take that information, put it in a Google spreadsheet. Crystal like that one. She's cracking up. At least I hope you're laughing at me because somebody else, this is embarrassing if you're laughing at somebody in the house. Okay, anyway, put down a slot for their name, phone number, email address. Put down superpower, so what they're looking for, and put down where they're located.
Social media handle.
Social media handle. I also put down LinkedIn. That's a big one in this space. You put down all these things, and this is the genius part about it. This is why I'm telling you guys to use a free one, because I have one that I pay for, but I don't want to show it to you guys because then you're gonna be like, oh no, that's the one I need. It works just the same with the free one. The only reason why I have the paid one, because I already had it for something else. All right. You use the free one. Now, here's what happens. You talk to a broker on Monday. You get a deal. It's not in your market. You go to your spreadsheet. You hit Control F for find, and you type in the state. And now all of a sudden you have a Rolodex of active investors in multifamily that you've been, every Zoom call you get, you've just been building your list up. And now if I have something in Birmingham, I'm like, damn, who do I know in Birmingham? I don't have to trust my memory. I don't have to put out a Facebook post. Like, I gotta be honest with you guys. People who put out Facebook posts, I got a deal in Birmingham, hit me up. The higher up people, like people who've been doing this for a long time, they know you're new. You know how they know you're new? Because you have yet to build a network. You guys cannot be showing up to all these different Zooms and letting all these amazing people who are connected in places and areas. Like, if Daniel didn't say what he said, I would have never known that Daniel had family in mobile home parks. I wouldn't have known that. But now that I know that tad bit about him, guess what information I'm putting down into his slot on my Excel spreadsheet? His uncle owns mobile home, and they typically buy in that New York area. If I get one in that area, guess who I'm gonna call? Well, I would call Daniel, but Daniel still don't got his number up on the screen. You see how I'm saying? Like, I want.
How do I do that? I'm sitting here searching the settings on Zoom. I have no clue how to do it.
I got you. So I just really want you guys to come in here and learn, but I really want you to leverage. I learned that word 2 years ago. Leverage the opportunity that's in front of you. If you're in a room, it is an opportunity to leverage. So what you want to do is, if you go to your screen, and you click on the 3 buttons right there, and then you go down to rename, and you should be able to change it there. Now, 2 things. First thing is, Ms. Simmons asked, how do we download the chat? If you go into the chat.
Let me jump in real quick. Let me see if you guys.
No, I got you. I want to show them this anyway, but I know I saw what you posted. I'm gonna talk about it in a second. So if you go into the chat, if you click on there's like a bottom row where you see like the emoji faces there and etc. If you click on the 3 buttons there, you would be able to save the chat. Now, because multifamily freedom chases is the shiznit, all right, because you have amazing people like D and Ed who took time out of their own schedule to create something, what I explained for you guys to do isn't really necessary in this particular Zoom, because they've built out, and I'll let Ed talk about what they built out in a second. But I wanted to share that with you because other Zooms don't have that. They don't have what Ed's about to talk about. So when you go to these other Zooms, use what I said to build your database up, build your network. All right. In this particular ecosystem, Ed, take it away, man.
So we have 2 links that I attached. The first one is one of the 2. I don't know which is which. One of the 2 is the form that you're gonna fill out. You're gonna input your contact info. What that does is submits all the information that you put based on the questions and sends it into the second link, which is the Excel sheet. That Excel sheet will have every single member who fills out the form and have all their information there. So very simply, instead of having to worry, where am I going to find everyone's information, you only have to worry about filling in your own, which I really hope you know better than anyone else's. But okay. And then you can have access to everyone's. Okay. The point of this is that you can now, maybe someone inputs their information and they don't come on these calls, or they haven't been able to be on the call because they watch the replays and the time doesn't work for them. You still get an opportunity to connect with the other members in the group beyond Facebook. Someone doesn't check Facebook. You have their phone numbers for anyone that is comfortable putting their phone number on there. You don't have to. We put that optional for that reason. But you have a way of contacting people. Email, your preferred form of contact. So that is a resource that we put together. Should run smooth. If there's any issues, please let me know. But that's something we put together just to make it simple for everyone to connect. I do want to mention one more thing in addition to what Eddie was talking about regarding location. Guys, just because I live in California does not mean I know all of California. I'm closer to Phoenix than I am to San Francisco. Actually, I've been to Phoenix more times than I've been to San Francisco. So keep that in mind as well. Just because it's not the state that you were looking for doesn't mean that they aren't close, or they may know someone in that area if they're close enough, right? Like just by proximity, me being in Los Angeles, I know more people in Phoenix than I do in most other cities in California, just because it's close and it's a market I'm interested in. So keep that in mind as well, where you live isn't everything, like just the state, the city's relevant. I put California because if I put LA, people are gonna think I'm from Louisiana. That is what it is. So that's something to keep in mind. But definitely good points, and definitely that's why we like to sit here and talk with everyone and be on here for as long as we are, because we want to make sure everyone has the resources to each other and be able to connect anyway. And that's the best part about this community.
Awesome, love it. Love it. Let me see. Okay, cool. Any questions before? Oh, wait, sorry. People still put stuff in the chat. Okay, good. Any questions before we go ahead and head out for the evening?
One more tip, very random, but I just thought of this as I was scrolling up the chat. When you're looking at a property, especially those bigger multi-unit properties, like 50, 100 plus units, Google the apartment name and read the reviews of the tenants.
That's a big one.
I was blown away when I found this out. Actually, I saw the person who actually gave me that tip in here. I want to verify they're still in here before I give the shout out. Candice, yes, you're here. Perfect. So we're talking about a property, and Candice,
Thank you.
oh my God. I was like, why did I not think of this before? And I am so happy I found out about it through you. It was like literally seconds. It was like, no, pass. I was like, wait, why? But I like the property. I thought I did, at least, you know, and this is why I underwrite, because I don't know everything. And I talk to people smarter than me, which in this case, thank you, Candice. We found out.
You're the best. My pleasure. You're the best.
You're amazing. We can write a book on the horror stories we found. I was like,
yes.
Oh, that's insane. So it's fun, honestly. If you're really, really bored and you like have been underwriting all day or done all your work and you want something to laugh at, go click random, like type in random apartment names, more units the better, and in questionable areas, and oh, you're gonna laugh out of some of these horror stories. It was pretty entertaining. We were cracking up at one point, and then partially terrifying. But huge tip, definitely recommend it. And do that about a city, please. Someone sent me a deal, and we looked at the city, and it was apparently the highest use of drugs per capita. Like, it was a small population, but for whatever reason, the people that live there, high drug use.
They get it by a wholesale price. So, you know, that changes things there.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, although 40,000 people live here, I don't know how many of those 40,000 I would want living in a building I own. So these are things to consider. And Eddie pulled up just now the directory, and that's the spreadsheet.
So look at this, right? Excuse me. Just to show you how great this is, right? Let's go in the chat here. I saw somebody said, okay. Anyone interested in student housing multifamily near Virginia Tech? Now, I don't know if anyone is yet in here, but I'm gonna hit profile, like I said. I'm actually gonna make this even easier. I'm actually just going to copy and paste directly from what she had. And I'm going to see if anyone so far that has filled this out. Now, we just came out with this like a week ago or something. So let's see. Anyone near here? So the word student housing didn't come up. And let me copy this out. So the word student housing didn't come up, and let's see if anybody's in Virginia. Nobody's in Virginia. See how simple and easy that was, right? Like let's see if I find somebody else. I just want to really prove a point. All right, here. Baby says she's mainly buying in Dallas. So I'm gonna come in here. Let's see, Dallas. Is anybody else buying in Dallas? There you go. Baby, you got seven times people that put in Dallas, and there's at least, let's see, where are you buying? Right there. Mr. Grant is buying in Dallas. That is, and also is see how good this is? Mr. Grant is buying in Dallas, and what's his superpower? Raising capital. Like, how sweet is this? Here we go. Baby,
Yes.
you're the one that typed this, so I won't count you. But here, right under you, baby, AJ is also buying in Dallas. He's the asset manager and a broker.
So real quick, I posted 2 links earlier.
Yeah.
One link is to fill out the form. The other link will send you directly to this that sheet.
Yeah. So this is the first link.
You guys all have should have access by having the ability to just click that link. I would just say once you have that link,
Just save it.
directory, just start it.
Yeah, here. Came right here. I started. Boom.
Eddie,
You guys don't have to worry about somebody like deleting it because it's only a view-only copy.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Can you just share it real quick? Just go to share on the top right, copy the link, and post it in the chat, please.
Hey, can I say one thing too? You guys I just put Texas in, I didn't put Dallas in. That's a great point. I should have put Dallas instead of Texas. I put the state in there. So I don't know, I need maybe be more specific than I was, right? Because when you're searching and you say Dallas, I put Texas in like an idiot. So put the city in, right?
You bring up a great point. One thing that I think I'm gonna tweak because I'm realizing now that people have put so many different responses and it doesn't defeat the purpose, but it makes it a little harder. So what I'm gonna try to do is create another tab where you can specify the state by the initial. So that way maybe
That'd be great. Yeah, the city and the state. Yeah, thank you so much. If y'all can edit mine, that'd be great.
I like this fun thing right here. The fun fact about you. Remind me next time Michael Alexander is on here that we make him rap about multifamily stuff.
That'd be amazing.
I think that'd be good.
Also, so in the meantime, for everyone here, you get the pro tip with this directory is if you're looking for a specific city, don't only search the city. If you're looking for a specific state, don't only type Texas, type TX.
Yeah.
This is a evolving method that I have obviously some flaws still, but that's why I love you all because you're going to be patient with me and I appreciate the test run and the feedback. And
can I say something real quick, guys? Like, this is all free. Like, I really want to drive that home because I don't want you guys to go and like pay for a mentorship somewhere else or go somewhere else and expecting the same type of behavior. This is a group of go-givers. This is why we do it. We're not asking for nothing in return. We're not going to do like 12 episodes of this and be like, all right, y'all, now it's time to pay. Like, none of that is happening, right? We'll be here for as long as we can possibly be here to continue to give value and help as many people win. That's the whole point of what we're doing. So I'm telling you guys, I don't like to say take advantage because some people have a negative connotation towards that phrase, taking advantage of something. What I'm telling you guys is to leverage what is in front of you. Don't wait. Don't be like, oh, I'll fill it out another day. Oh, I'll download it another day. You don't know how long this is available to you. So leverage it. All these people that are in here now, there is 37 people in here on a Tuesday night. Typically, it goes up on a Tuesday. You guys are still here. Let's see if anybody caught that reference. You guys are still here on a Tuesday night, focused on your dreams and your goals to learn about multifamily and how you can get better. These are people you want to connect with and build relationships with. Because I promise you, I'm telling you, there are individuals that are in this room right now. Come the future, you will be doing business with them. And you'll be like, I feel like I met you somewhere. And it's going to be a shock when you be like, oh, it was that Zoom. Yeah, that's right. That's how I got your contact information. Oh, I got a deal. Oh, I have a friend that has a bunch of money. Oh, let's work together. Oh, yeah, let's do. I'm great at doing this. Oh, I'm great at doing it. Like, it's in front of you guys. I'm trying to tell you it's okay to be aggressive and push forward and leverage what's in front of you, because you will hate yourself. You will hate yourself if a year from now, 2 years from now, you try to come back and you miss the boat and it's not jumping as it once was. It'll be for new people, but it won't be for you, because every single day you're in here, you're gonna be upset because you're gonna be like, damn, I remember when Aldo used to come in here. Now I only see Aldo on beaches. Like he doesn't even wear regular suits and shirts no more. It's just a tank top and a drink. Every freaking live he do, that's how he opens the live. He don't even show his face. He opens it. He have the drink in front of the camera first, and then you see his face. Right? You can be like, I remember this dude used to be up here with me. So please, I want that for you guys as much as Ed does, as much as Peter does, as much as the whole multifamily Freedom Chasers group. All right. So I really wanted to drop that point home, and really let you guys know we believe in you. And if you thought tonight was special, you best to show up tomorrow night, because that's how the money flows into your deal. Ask the hard questions, right? Ask the questions about like, hey, yesterday we underwrote a mixed unit property. Okay. How would that change if I needed funding for a mixed unit? Right? Like how would that work? Like ask those questions that you're too afraid to ask when you don't have the deal. So when you do have the deal, you prepare, right? Build those relationships. So when you don't have the deal, when you do have the deal, you are prepared. All right. With that being said, Ed, you got anything else for the good people?
Yeah, just want to say thank you guys. It's always a pleasure being here with all of you. Let's kill it. Have a good time. Enjoy this. This is fun. If not, find the superpower that you have that is fun for you. You know, that's why I love doing this, is because I enjoy it. I do this all day, to be honest. And always know that if you have any questions, you need help, underwriting, whatever it is, reach out. I'd love to be a resource to you guys. I'm in masterminds and I'm in mentorships that I learned this stuff from. And some of those are really expensive, but at the end of the day, we're trying to give it back to you guys, because what's the point of knowing it all for myself? Doesn't help me. But on that note as well, if there's a question you guys ask and we don't have the answers, I don't think I know everything. I sometimes act like I do, but I don't. Let us know, and we'll reach out to the right people to connect you. We'll reach out to the people who might have the answer. Just because I don't know Idaho, I know someone that does. And I hope someone else in this community does as well. And that's how we want to build the connections, okay? So make sure you guys talk to each other, help each other out, and let's kick ass.
Let's do it. All right, guys, peace. Love you guys. Stay charged up. How can you get access to the recording? It will get put into the Multifamily Freedom Chasers Facebook group. It's also on their on their YouTube page. And it's also being recorded, streamed live on my YouTube page now, Eddy, EDDY Charger. You can just go there and you'll catch all of the stuff that I do is on there. So Napkin Underwriting, broker calls, all that stuff, you'll see it on there, and you can catch any replays you have on there.
One last thing, next week's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll discuss.
I
Just
mean,
as-
listen, I'm in love with multifamily, so I don't know, you know, if
I'll be
anybody else
here.
has issues, I get it, right? But
I'll
I
be
like
here.
big buildings with a lot of windows and, you know, whatever. Anyway, see you guys. Peace. Stay charged up.